that what I've enjoyed about this journey has been that it's kept me open-minded. It's kept me feeling like I can keep learning, like I can keep growing, like I can adapt to new information. It brings you into it just brings you into a different world. And so that's what's pulled me forward. And then I liked learning how one culture thinks and how it's different from thinking in English.
Hola a todos, welcome to another episode of Conquering Spanish. I'm your host, Tania Roman, and I'm the Student Success Manager here at Spanish 55. Every episode, I sit down with one of our students and chat about how they started learning Spanish, what motivates them, and what tricks and tips they have to continue learning Spanish. Today, I had a wonderful conversation with Elaine Alexander, a psychologist who began learning the language to communicate with her stepson's wife, but ended up continuing Spanish because it's now become one of her favorite hobbies. We had an insightful conversation about how Spanish and learning languages allows you to dive into different cultures' thought processes. And she also shared with us a wonderful opportunity she had to go to Guatemala and volunteer at a school. So stay tuned for this wonderful conversation. I'm sure you're going to find it extremely interesting. Hola, Elaine, ¿cómo estás?
Estoy bien, ¿y tú?
Muy bien, me da mucho gusto volverte a ver. Creo que hace casi 3 años que platicamos por primera vez, Elaine, cuando yo recién entré a Spanish 55. ¿Cómo te ha ido?
3 años, wow. Okay. Muy bien. Estoy trabajando con Giovanna y me gusta mucho mis lecciones con ella, la forma y estoy aprendiendo mucho en mis sesiones con Giovanna. Sí. Y con español 55.
Excelente. Oye, Elaine, ¿nos puedes platicar un poco de qué haces, a qué te dedicas, por dónde vives?
Well, vivo en Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, y estoy trabajando como una psicóloga en mi práctica privada. Y también vivo cerca de dos de mis hijas, y soy una abuela. Y también mucho tiempo con mis nietas. Mi nieta.
Qué fantástico. Qué hermoso.
Sí.
Oye, ¿y qué te gusta hacer en tu tiempo libre?
En tiempo libre, practicar español. Practico español. Y me gusta leer, por supuesto. Y tiempo con mis amigas y otros amigos y amigas. Y me gusta ascender, go for a walk. Voy a ascender.
Ok.
No. Camino en los parques.
De acuerdo. ¿Te gusta salir a caminar?
Caminar mucho. Caminar con amigos mismo. Sí, no me gusta cocinar mucho como otras abuelas. No.
Ok, muy bien. Bueno, tenemos gustos diferentes y ¿te gusta caminar con tus nietas?
Más o menos. Sí, ellos les gustan ir al parque, los parques donde ellos pueden trepar y correr, zócalos y otras cosas.
Ok, muy bien. Oye, ¿Y qué te gusta leer, Elaine?
Oh, leer o ficción. Ficción. Ficción para la playa. Beach reads. Sí. Mucha ficción. Sí, sí, sí. Estoy en un club de libros y ellos leen un mes ficción, un mes non ficción. Yo leo ficción y no, non ficción.
Ok, la ficción es lo tuyo, no ficción como no mucho.
No, no, demasiado noticioso.
Exacto.
No necesito más.
Exacto, tenemos suficiente con lo que pasa en el mundo.
Es suficiente para mí.
Okay,
Sí.
muy bien. Very good, Elaine. Thank you so much for introducing yourself. I love that you like going out in nature and just soaking in the sun and like the air. So, Elaine, I'd really like to understand where your love for learning Spanish came from. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, actually, I mean, I did Spanish in high school and dropped it. But my stepson married a woman whose family is from Mexico, and so we started learning Spanish because their English was pretty más o menos. So we started working on our Spanish, and then it became a hobby for me because I liked learning another language. I liked learning to think in another language. I didn't do that for a while, but once I was able to. And then I liked learning how one culture thinks and how it's different from thinking in English. That phrases are different, that it reflects different ways of approaching a situation. For example, I'll go, me da miedo. Well, it gives me fear. In English, we don't say that.
Right.
We say, I am afraid. Well, that's very different. And so that's just a small example, but it brings you into a different, it just brings you into a different world. And so that's what's pulled me forward. The other piece is my daughters. Both my two daughters were born in Guatemala. So that pulled me in. And then I started doing some volunteer work in Guatemala with kids. And, so I had to speak Spanish. Kids are very forgiving, but you really have to be able to talk Spanish. And so that pushed me forward. I really enjoyed going down there and I didn't do it a lot, but I did go down there for several years at various points and volunteer with schools. After school programs. And recently, last year, about a year ago, I went to Costa Rica and volunteered in a daycare center where they really needed help. And I will probably do that again because it's just a lot of fun to do that.
All right.
And I liked it a lot. Yeah. So that's kind of what pushes me forward. Just recently, I traveled, I spent a week in Mendoza and a week in Patagonia and in Chile. And I was with a group and we were all told to only speak Spanish. And it was great. It was a great experience to be able to travel and speak Spanish in the country. Everyone asked me if I would have trouble with the Chilean accent, and I didn't. None of us did, actually. It was really great. And the people were so wonderful, so nice, so different from the United States. It was great. I had a great time. So anyhow, all that travel is wonderful. I'm thinking of planning a trip to Spain again, to a different part of Spain, again, to work on my Spanish. I love going. I've been to Malaga, Spain, to work on my Spanish, but also toured around the area. It was wonderful. It's a beautiful area. So I'm thinking of going to northern Spain. Different organization, but similar experience. It's just wonderful.
Okay, I'd like to, explore all the different experiences that you've mentioned, if you don't mind. I'd like to start out by asking you if you could share a little bit more about volunteering at the school in Guatemala. What were some of your activities there? How long were you there for? Anything you can share with us, Elaine?
Right. Well, each time I went, it was for about 2 weeks. I stayed in different places. Mostly I like staying in the hostel, actually, with different people from around the world. But my experience in the school was I helped in an after-school program. And so these were kids whose parents worked, school got out. Sometimes I went to the school and helped, just helped them with homework, helped the younger kids stay busy. I read to the kids. We did various homework assignments, reading assignments that the kids were learning. We're working on, or we take them to the park and just let them run around. Whatever they needed that day was what I helped with. And I knew that I was helping because when I told the person I was working with I was leaving in the next day or two, she was like, "Oh no!" It was really nice. It was really nice to hear. Mm-hmm. So that was great. In the daycare, that was in Guatemala. In Costa Rica, it was a regular daycare center, so we just moved them through their program, whatever singing, drawing activities they had. And then there was just keeping them busy, a lot of keeping them busy. So, you make up games, you pull out books, you start doing whatever needs to be done to keep them occupied.
And so
nice.
And so I imagine that, you've been through these volunteering experiences throughout the years, and your Spanish has progressed as well throughout the years. Do you feel a difference, or have you felt a difference between how you started out and your most recent experience in terms of how you connected with people because of Spanish?
Well, I'm much more able to hold an ongoing conversation. I think I'm better able to understand the culture, to make my way through better. It's not as challenging to feel like I'm a part of the situation as opposed to somebody who's just trying to work her way in and get a task done. Mm-hmm. So that's nice. When I think of some of the conversations I've had at markets, where if I were buying something or if I was looking at some things on a table, you can engage in a conversation with somebody and talk about where it came from, and ask more questions, share more information. When I first started Spanish, I couldn't do that. But now, if I'm at a market and I'm talking to somebody, when I was in Oaxaca, for example, in Mexico, this was just a tour. I went to a factory where they make a lot of textiles. And so I was talking with them about the textile. And it was a wall hanging that took 8 weeks to make. It was all made by hand. They were telling me how they made the dyes. It was so interesting. I couldn't have done that originally. So it helps me be more a part of the situation, to really connect with people differently, for sure, to take an interest in people.
That's so important, to take an interest in them and not just talk at them, right?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. To be able to be curious about them, what they're doing, what they're presenting. Absolutely.
Okay. And what draws you to go to these volunteering experiences?
Oh, well, that I've always done. What draws me to Costa Rica or Guatemala is to be able to work with kids, but also to speak Spanish. It's just so much fun to live in another language, to live outside my life for that 2 weeks. It's just wonderful experience. So I mean, I've always done volunteer work of different kinds. So this is just expanding on the options for sure.
Okay, amazing. And so you've had other immersion experiences that that are just trips, right? Was it to Mexico and Spain?
Well, the trip to Mexico was not an immersion experience. That was just a tour. There was a tour.
Okay.
To Spain, that was to Malaga, that was an immersion experience. Absolutely.
And how was that?
Absolutely. It was great. That was wonderful. Oh my God, Malaga, southern Spain is beautiful. The coast is beautiful. It's just a beautiful area. So that was wonderful. I have gone to Costa Rica on immersion experiences. Of course, being in Guatemala was immersion experience by definition. So, yeah.
Okay, so you took Spanish in high school. You've had these experiences of volunteering. How was it that you found Spanish 55?
That's a good question. I found Spanish 55. Actually, I listened to podcasts by Andrea, Spanish Listos. They send out, she's putting out, lots of podcasts weekly. And one podcast she had, I can't remember the podcast to be honest, but she was just talking about Spanish 55. And that's when I thought, oh, I could use this. And so I called. But the truth is, to really grow my Spanish, or in my experience, to really grow my Spanish, I needed multiple sources. And so working with Spanish 55 has certainly really moved me forward. But I also, the New York Times sends out 2 or 3 times a week a email in Spanish, the Spanish news, and I go over that. And I can get some Spanish podcasts, and I use those because you have to listen. And so, but what I really learned is if I really want to move my Spanish from intermediate to advanced, I really have to work at it. I really have to listen every day and do something every day in different ways. Get input every day to improve, to mejorar mi español.
Okay, and thank you for sharing about the New York Times, because I think when you read is it's not basic level, right? It's about what's going on in the world, and you definitely get new vocabulary and different expressions that allow you to give your opinion when somebody asks you about it.
Mm-hmm. Right. A lot of it's in the present tense. I will say that. Not a lot of subjunctive, or occasionally there's a subjunctive, but it's not a lot. It's mostly present tense or future tense. There's a lot about war and finance. But they do have a lot of different articles, and so I enjoy going over it.
Okay, and
yeah, it's good to read the news.
Yes. And do you by any chance have the names of any other podcasts that you like to listen to in Spanish?
Oh, yeah. I like to listen to Spanish language coach, Caesar. Oh, my gosh, he's terrific. He's really great. He sends, let me see if I can find. Sends out all these free Spanish podcasts with Caesar. Yeah. Just Spanish language. I just stumbled on it. I have no idea how I found it, but I just stumbled on it. And he sends out these 30-minute podcasts. He'll talk about anything. And he'll interview people, and that's in a lot of different tenses. And I think that's just more challenging for me, for sure. And a lot of times I have to sit down and go over what tense is this, what are we talking about here? So he's very good. He has classes too, but I'm not gonna do that.
Okay.
So, lots of resources out there. A lot of resources.
Right. You just have to find the one that talks about a topic that you're interested in or that kind of resonates with you.
Right. But you have to get I think you need multiple inputs. which I think is why immersion is really good, because when you go down or when you go across the ocean and you're immersed in a Spanish experience, you get lots of different input, all different people talking, all different accents, conversational Spanish. It's much more, it really moves you forward. It moves me forward.
Right, because it's very different to just receiving the language than to actually having to create an output.
Absolutely. I have to make a sentence. I have to get all my subjects, my verbs, and my pronouns in the right spot. I mean, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, wonderful. So now I want to talk about your experience with Spanish 55. You've mentioned how important it is to be immersed in the language. So do you by any chance remember the first time you met Coach Giovanna in the consultation call?
Yeah, I do remember it. Not well, but yeah, I remember it. I think it was an evaluation. The initial call was an evaluation. And she said to me, well, you're kind of at the beginning, intermediate level, somewhere around there. And then she said, well, if you want to go ahead, this is what you have to do. So it's like, sure, let's do it. And so we went ahead and I enjoy that relationship. She knows everything. So, I mean, it's very nice. It's a very nice experience to talk twice a week in Spanish. She starts with conversation and then she moves to a lesson. And so I'm learning so much about the world, the Spanish-speaking world, so much about the culture, the different cultures. And so my goal is to be able to take my Spanish and use it here. There's a large Spanish-speaking population in the United States. And so what I really like is to be able to, just outside of Philadelphia, but I'm sure there's somewhere where I can go and help people whose first language is not English, but Spanish.
Right.
I'm going to have to get a little better, though.
Okay, so have you had a chance to speak Spanish while you've been in the U.S. or not yet?
Not much, no. No. Just to some friends, basically. No. But I'm fairly sure when I feel a little more secure, I'll be able to find some places that work with immigrants and help people who speak Spanish.
Okay, great. And what's your favorite thing about your lessons with Giovanna?
My favorite? Well, speaking Spanish. I think she's very good at what she does. Initially, I was very shy. I didn't know what to talk about. I was kind of intimidated, I guess, not by her, but by the experience. But she's very good at drawing me out, helping me feel more comfortable speaking Spanish on a regular basis. I think that's been the best part of it, is that I've just gotten comfortable chatting away a lot in Spanish.
Great. You've been with Coach Giovanna for about 5 years now, almost 5 years. And I was reading the lesson log, and what I found so interesting was that at the beginning, Coach Giovanna would write that you were preparing for your volunteering experiences and so on. And throughout the years, what I've read is Elaine likes to speak Spanish because she loves the language and hobby. So it's kind of like transform. It's I find it so interesting that it's transformed. It's something alive. Perhaps it was for a reason. So like volunteering before, but now it's part of your life.
Yeah, it's absolutely. I say that she's got it accurately. That it's become part of what I like to do. One of my hobbies, beyond a hobby, but yes, absolutely.
Great.
I enjoyed it enormously. Mhm.
I want to ask you
Sorry.
about something that you mentioned a bit earlier, that you found that the way that Spanish structures the language helps you think differently, right? As a psychologist, I imagine that this is fascinating for you. Have you found yourself incorporating some of the structures of Spanish in your everyday life to help you look at things differently?
Help me think about things differently. No, but I do notice that sometimes I just structure sentences in my head. Or I'll have a conversation and I'll try and have it in Spanish with myself and see where it takes me. That I do. I don't know, like it helps me think outside the box. Um, but it does um, just a different way of phrasing things, a different way of thinking, I guess. Um, just phrasing the sentences, really.
Okay. And so, what are some of the challenges that you've faced while on the Spanish learning journey?
Oh, it's the grammar beyond a shadow of a doubt. the grammar, the grammar, just making sure that everything is matching, all my verbs and my adjectives, and my subjects and the adjectives match, and then there's the subjunctive, because we don't have it in English, and so thinking about that different style when something is hypothetical or a wish or an opinion that requires a different verb tense. That's been challenging. So grammar beyond a shadow of a doubt.
And how do you keep yourself motivated and sticking to it even after facing the subjunctive?
Challenging the subjunctive. It's just fun. Well, for one thing, I mean, you just do it. It's not like in school I don't get an A or an F. But it's just the fun of seeing myself move forward, of knowing that I'm doing better now than I did in the past, that I'm learning, that I'm better at conversations. I can hold my own better in a conversation. It's just the fun of studying. I mean, I like to study anyway. So I don't know if it were in Spanish, maybe it'd be something else, but it's Spanish. So it's and it's fun. Yeah.
Okay.
It's just fun.
Okay. And have you noticed something about yourself that has changed while on this journey?
I think that what I've enjoyed about this journey has been that it's kept me open-minded. That it's kept me feeling like I can keep learning, like I can keep growing, like I can adapt to new information, that I can see things, well, that's what I do for a living, but see things from other people's point of view. But it's helped me to just always connect with that part of myself that can keep growing. And that's of course always been a good thing.
Has Spanish influenced you at all in your practice, with your patients, or not at all?
That's a good question. I can't say it really has, not much. If someone came in with, when I have, which is not often, someone from a different culture, I think it's helped me be more open. But I'm not sure it's influenced me in a way that I can see.
Right.
I mean, maybe it has, I just can't see it. That's always a possibility.
Okay.
But I like to think it just keeps me open.
I love that. And we definitely need that nowadays.
sure. Absolutely.
Okay. If you could go back and see yourself, on day one of your Spanish journey, what would you tell yourself?
It's going to be a long journey. That's one thing. A long way to go. Well, but that's actually one of the nice things is that it is a long journey. That it's got so many layers. It's not just learning the vocabulary or just learning the grammar. It's learning the intricacies of being able to think in another language. And that has many layers to it, in my opinion, in my experience. To move from just trying to make it an intellectual activity to really integrating it into being a part of myself. Mm-hmm. So that you can really think in another language. That's really the journey.
Okay.
And it's many steps. And it just keeps on deepening.
Okay. Do you remember the first time that you found yourself actually thinking in Spanish?
I probably after I came back from the Spanish-speaking country, and my Spanish is so much better after that. That's markedly better. I probably noticed I was thinking in Spanish more, especially when you're in the airport and everything is in English suddenly, and it's a little jarring. So we've been in another culture for 2 weeks, at least for me, and totally immersed. So that was probably on a return trip back to the United States when I noticed.
Okay, and now in your daily life, are there moments where perhaps there are things you think in Spanish rather than in English?
Yeah, I do. If I make the effort, I can do it. Yes, if I make the effort, I can start thinking, you know what? You can think about this a little differently. You can phrase that differently to yourself. Oh, that would be a subjunctive sentence. Think about that. that would be, remember that. In English, that doesn't change, but in Spanish, it does. So, yes, so it does come up in my mind.
Okay, that must feel like so gratifying, being able to analyze the language in real time and knowing that you're now capable of doing that.
Right. Doesn't mean I always apply it properly, but I do notice. I do notice it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely. The subjunctive is one of the bigger challenges.
Oh, goodness, yes. The subjunctive gives everybody a headache.
Absolutely. Right.
All right. Is there anything else that you would like to share with somebody who's, just starting out or perhaps having a difficult time with the language that you haven't shared with me yet?
Well, I think the important thing to realize is everybody has a difficult time. That's normal, especially when you're starting out. It's difficult. You feel so inadequate. You think you had a good lesson, and then you try and apply it, and you realize, I have that all the time. I'm always looking up words from the New York Times because there's always another word that I'd never heard of, or another word I had never encountered, or maybe I encountered it last week and I forgot it this week. So it's startling. You think you conquered that lesson, and then you try and use it, and it's like, oh, I don't know what they're talking about. So, but that's normal. You can't get on your case for that.
Okay, great. So our podcast is called Conquering Spanish. And now I would like to ask you, Elaine, what does conquering Spanish mean to you?
What would my next step in conquering Spanish? This is my goal. This is my current goal. Conquering Spanish would be moving from my feelings that I'm intermediate to really being advanced. And I'm starting to think about how I want to do that. It really means thinking in Spanish consistently, not just when I come back from another country. Really being able to have pretty good grammar without having to go through a sentence and think, okay, so this is the noun, this is the subject, this is the verb I want to use, this is the matching adjective, so that everything is consistent, but to be able to have it flow. And so I really want to make that my next next step there.
Okay. And I'm sure you'll be able to achieve that in no time. I mean, with Giovanna and and your immersion trips, those are like the perfect elements to help you get to that goal.
I hope so. And anyway, that's all fun. So, and if it's not fun, don't do it.
And I love how you've said fun many times throughout our conversation, Elaine, because I think that's a fundamental aspect of learning Spanish, learning anything actually, right? Especially when we're out of school and there's nobody telling us that we have to do it, so we need to make it fun.
Absolutely. Otherwise, you won't be able to continue.
Exactly.
They have to have fun and rewarding. Absolutely.
Wonderful. So would you like to give Coach Giovanna a shout out? She's surely going to listen to this conversation.
Oh, she's wonderful. She knows I enjoy it. I hope she knows that I enjoy my time with her. Absolutely. I'll meet with her tomorrow and I'll be happy to tell her all about it. In Spanish.
Awesome. Very good. I can't wait for you to go and share your experience with her, and I'll share the interview so she can also see what we've talked about. Elaine, is there anything else that you'd like to share?
I think you've done a good job of asking me questions.
Okay, wonderful, Elaine. So thank you so much for taking the time to come and speak with all of us who are listening to this episode, and go and have more volunteering experiences. I'm a big fan of volunteering, so what you said resonates with me, and I hope you come back and tell us more about them.
Well, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, Elaine. Thank you for listening to another episode of Conquering Spanish. It was absolutely a thrill to speak with Elaine and to hear more about her trip to Guatemala volunteering at the school. It was fantastic when she mentioned that learning Spanish has given her the opportunity to live life in another language. In addition, I loved when she said that it has kept her open-minded, it has allowed her to keep growing and to face new challenges. So if you're ready to take the plunge and start learning Spanish, make sure to check out Spanish55.com so you can book your free consultation. You'll be able to sit down for 55 minutes with one of our coaches and feel what a real lesson could be like. Come back next time and let's continue conquering Spanish together.